Hey everyone! Today, I'm excited to introduce a Korean comedy film called Slow Video. The story kicks off in a boring surveillance room where two women are chatting about their new colleague, a young, handsome guy. But there's something odd. Even indoors, he wears sunglasses, which leaves the women puzzled. Just then, they spot two fugitives on the run. The team leader is alerted and quickly calls the police. The surveillance team scrambles to track the criminals through the cameras, but unfortunately, they lose sight of them. Just as hope begins to fade, the new employee catches a tiny detail and locates the fugitives hiding in a box. Thanks to his sharp observation, the police apprehend the criminals in no time. This new employee is Yeo Jang-bu, and his keen eyesight isn't just a fluke. He has a rare genetic condition that makes everything he sees appear in slow motion. No matter how fast or sneaky the criminals were, they couldn't escape his super slow motion vision. Flashback to Jang-bu's childhood. He and his childhood friend, Bong Soo-mi, were participating in a relay race when, for the first time, everything started slowing down in his eyes. Unaware of what was happening, he stumbled and fell. His worried parents took him to the hospital, where doctors diagnosed him with dynamic vision, an extremely rare condition that allows him to perceive details in moving objects that others can't see, as if he's watching the world in slow motion. To confirm the diagnosis, the doctor tossed a fastball at him, and sure enough, Jang-bu caught it with ease. Now, you might think that with such an ability, he'd excel in any sport. But here's the catch: his eyes are super developed, but his body and brain can't keep up. He sees everything in slow motion, and his brain processes it that way too, but his body moves at normal speed. This disconnect is why he falls, otherwise, he'd be like the Flash. The doctor advised him to always wear sunglasses, which would help, if only slightly. To afford his treatment, Jang-bu's father went abroad for work, while Jang-bu stayed home with his mother and sister. His condition is both a curse and a blessing, like when a gentle breeze lifts a skirt just a little too high. However, in school, he was bullied for wearing sunglasses. His only friend was Soo-mi, and he eventually developed feelings for her. But as time passed, Soo-mi also became a target for bullying because of her friendship with him, and she eventually left him. From that moment on, Jang-bu had no friends. Feeling frustrated and trapped, Jang-bu wanted to lose his vision completely. So, he started watching TV non-stop, sitting so close to the screen that he was almost touching it. He watched day and night, but despite his efforts, his vision remained as sharp as ever. Instead of losing his sight, he developed an obsession with Korean dramas, which turned out to be even worse than going blind. From these dramas, he learned various social skills by watching the actors, but he never actually stepped outside to put them into practice. His father was constantly working, even during holidays, to make money, and hadn't been back home in a long time. Tragically, one day his father was involved in a fatal accident at work. With his father gone, the only person Jang-bu felt close to was Dr. Suk. The doctor encouraged the reclusive Jang-bu to step out of his room, experience the world, and maybe even help his family financially. That's how Jang-bu ended up working at the surveillance center. Deep down, Jang-bu liked watching people on the screens, because it reminded him of his favorite dramas. The only difference was that in this show, everyone was the main character. Jang-bu's co-workers, Byung-soo and the team leader, often discussed him. Though Jang-bu was introverted and rarely spoke to anyone, Byung-soo promised to look out for him because he recognized Jang-bu's genius. During work, Byung-soo would sit beside him, trying to make conversation, but shy Jang-bu only answered in his mind, never speaking a word out loud. As Jang-bu observed the surveillance feeds, he would meticulously record how many steps people took to reach certain places. Byung-soo found this behavior odd but didn't question it. Determined to befriend him, Byung-soo tried different conversation starters, even asking if Jang-bu had a girlfriend. This question brought back memories of Soo-mi, his childhood friend. The next day, Jang-bu mustered the courage to visit her house. Soo-mi had grown into a beautiful woman, but due to financial troubles, her creditors were pressuring her to sell her house to repay her debts. Jang-bu could only watch from a distance, too afraid to approach her or say a word. The fear gripped him, and he just couldn't bring himself to talk to her. From that day on, Jang-bu began watching Soo-mi every day through the surveillance cameras, keeping track of her daily routine. In the evenings, he noticed that Soo-mi liked to drink soda outside a cafe, so he started doing the same. When he saw her staring at an abandoned sofa on the street, he decided to drag the sofa in front of the cafe, hoping to catch her attention. The next day, Soo-mi noticed the sofa but had no idea it was placed there just for her by someone who was secretly watching over her. One rainy day, Soo-mi got stranded at a bus stop. Jang-bu, watching through the cameras, immediately set out to rescue her but knew he couldn't do it alone. So, he reluctantly asked Byung-soo for help. When Byung-soo learned that Jang-bu was trying to impress a girl, he eagerly shared some romantic tips. Following Byeon-soo's advice, Jang-bu approached Sumi with an umbrella held over his head, just like in a K-drama. But when Sumi realized that a stranger had been following her, she yelled creep and ran away. Feeling defeated, the two went to Dr. Suk for advice on how to make a lasting impression on Sumi. The doctor, though not much of an expert, confidently suggested that flowers might do the trick. The next day, Sumi was late for a musical audition and had to call the director, who impatiently told her to sing over the phone. With no other choice, Sumi started singing right there on the street. Her beautiful voice captivated passers-by, who stopped to admire her. Jang-bu, meanwhile, arrived at the scene with a bouquet of flowers and managed to save Sumi from being hit by a car. Emboldened by the moment, he tried to charm her with a cheesy line straight out of a drama. "Spring isn't beautiful because of the flowers, it's beautiful because of you." But Sumi was unimpressed and bluntly told him, "I'd rather have a pack of ramen than these flowers." Realizing his attempt had failed, Jang-bu desperately called out her name and revealed that she was his best childhood friend. But Sumi coldly responded, "You've got the wrong person." Crushed and confused, Jang-bu hurried home, looking at old photos of the little girl he once knew. He began to wonder if he had made a mistake. Could that little girl really have grown up to be someone so beautiful? Despite the mix-up, Jang-bu couldn't help but realize that he had already fallen deeply in love with this woman, whether she was his childhood friend or not. That afternoon, by coincidence, Jang-bu and Sumi ran into each other again. Seeing Sumi carrying 2 full shopping bags, Jang-bu didn't hesitate at all and quickly took them from her to help. Before they parted ways, Sumi asked him why he was looking for that girl. Jang-bu honestly replied that he once had a crush on her. After returning to work, Jang-bu saw Sumi on the surveillance cameras receiving a phone call. The person on the other end informed her that she had passed the audition and landed a role in the musical. Overjoyed, Sumi started dancing right there on the street, and Jang-bu, watching from the screen, couldn't help but gaze at her with happiness and affection. Later that evening, Sumi went to a restaurant to celebrate and spotted Jang-bu from afar. She approached him and struck up a conversation, realizing that he had come to congratulate her and that he had obediently brought a whole box of ramen, just as she had jokingly suggested earlier. The two ended up sharing dinner, and after a few drinks, they both became a little tipsy. Sumi, in high spirits, started playfully reciting lines from her favorite dramas with Jang-bu. He showered her with compliments, making Sumi blush with embarrassment. Jang-bu then showed off his own talents, catching a flying spoon with his bare hands, which led to more playful antics. Soon, the entire restaurant joined in on the fun, and they all played and laughed until they were exhausted and passed out. Later, Jang-bu carried the charming woman back to her home, along with the box of ramen that had outshone any bouquet of flowers. The next day, Jang-bu wandered around Sumi's neighborhood, counting his steps as he walked. Because of Sumi, he was gradually stepping out of his comfort zone and exploring more of the world around him. On her way home, Sumi noticed Jang-bu waiting for her. Over time, the two had become friends, and they decided to go for a walk together. As they strolled, they talked about many things, and Sumi learned that Jang-bu worked behind the scenes in surveillance. They ended up sitting on the sofa Jang-bu had placed outside the cafe. As they looked at the cafe across the street, Jang-bu finally understood why she liked sitting there. She had a crush on the handsome cafe owner. This revelation stirred deep feelings of jealousy in his heart. During their conversation, Sumi also mentioned something else. She really wanted to own a car so she could go wherever she wanted. Sumi's wish became Jang-bu's mission. Determined to take her on a drive, he asked his co-workers if anyone had a car he could borrow, but his hopes were dashed when he found out that no one did. One day, on her way home, Sumi was once again confronted by her creditors. They began shouting and threatening to harm her. But just in time, Jang-bu and Byeon-soo arrived to rescue her. Back at work, Sumi playfully pressed the alarm button and shouted Jang-bu's name into the camera, knowing he would be watching on the other end. Their relationship continued to grow stronger, and they started meeting up frequently. One day, they were strolling through the park, chatting as autumn leaves swirled around them in the breeze. Seeing that Sumi liked the leaves, Jang-bu began picking them for her, one after another, feeling like the coolest guy ever. When he asked where she would most like to drive, Sumi answered, "The beach." Determined to fulfill her dream, Jang-bu began spending time with a bus driver, eventually becoming friends. He learned through surveillance that the driver would practice baseball alone every night, so Jang-bu joined in to bond with him. Moved by Jang-bu's sincerity, the bus driver made a bold decision. He offered to take them on a bus ride straight to Busan to see the ocean, without picking up any other passengers along the way. As they enjoyed the beautiful scenery, Sumi's heart blossomed with happiness, watching Jang-bu's innocent joy. However, the bus wasn't allowed to cross regional borders, and they were soon stopped by the police at a highway checkpoint. Furious, Sumi tried to argue with the officers, but Byung-soo had to step in to calm her down. In the end, they had no choice but to turn back. Even though they didn't reach the beach, Sumi felt Jang-boo's deep affection for her. Back at work, Jang-boo's team leader announced that there had been multiple cases of women being kidnapped recently and urged everyone to stay vigilant. Just then, Jang-boo noticed on the surveillance feed that Sumi had suddenly disappeared and was no longer visible on any of the cameras. Terrified, Jang-boo sprinted out, frantically searching for her, injuring himself along the way, but determined to ensure her safety. When he finally found her, it turned out to be just a prank. Sumi wanted to see if he would come for her. His frantic arrival proved that he was always watching over her. Touched by his devotion, Sumi slowly removed his sunglasses, and the two shared a deep kiss. As the now happy couple walked home, Sumi didn't invite him in for a cup of tea, though their evening seemed perfect. Unfortunately, their joy was short-lived. Sumi's creditors, along with their thugs, were already waiting for them. They began smashing things and threatening her to repay the debt. Jang-boo, who had followed them, tried to intervene, but his vision and brain couldn't keep up in the panic, just like when he was a child. He tripped and blacked out. After the thugs left, Jang-boo and Sumi sat down to talk. Amidst the scattered debris, they found a drawing Jang-boo had made for Sumi when they were children. It became clear that Sumi had lied. She did remember him after all. Sumi had left Jang-boo when they were kids, and her guilt over abandoning him had haunted her ever since. She didn't want him to see the difficult life she was now living, so she hid the truth. As she explained this, Jang-boo remained silent, while Sumi smiled sadly, looking at the childhood drawing Jang-boo had once given her. Without saying a word, the two quietly parted ways. The next day, Jang-boo visited Dr. Suk, revealing that his vision was getting worse. The truth was, his condition had been deteriorating for some time, and he knew that he would soon lose his sight entirely. This was why he had been meticulously counting his steps everywhere he went. Meanwhile, Sumi sold her house to pay off her debts, leaving her with nowhere to go. At the surveillance center, everyone was busy, but Jang-boo's focus remained on Sumi. Just then, a colleague noticed a suspicious car and, upon checking the license plate, realized it belonged to a wanted kidnapper. The team alerted the police and began tracking the vehicle, but they soon lost sight of it. At the same time, Jang-boo lost track of Sumi on the monitors. Panicked, he rushed out to find her, fearing she might be in danger, but as he hurried along, his vision suddenly failed completely, leaving him blind. He stumbled along, and Byung-soo, noticing this through the surveillance cameras, quickly ran to help him. Meanwhile, Sumi was grabbed by a stranger. Just as she was about to be taken away, Jang-boo arrived, shouting at the kidnapper. Startled, the criminal fled, but in his blindness, Jang-boo nearly ran into traffic. This time, it was Sumi who pulled him back to safety. The police arrived and took Sumi to the station to give her statement, leaving Jang-boo alone. Fortunately, Byung-soo arrived just in time, and Jang-boo, now completely blind, broke down in his friend's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. After this incident, Sumi, pressured by the demands of life, became busy once more. She wasn't sure if Jang-boo was still angry with her, and whenever she missed him, she would stare at the surveillance cameras, hoping to see him. Months passed, and one day, Sumi spotted Jang-boo at her favorite cafe. Overjoyed, she rushed over to greet him, but her happiness turned to shock when she saw him pull out a cane and walk in the opposite direction. Heartbroken, Sumi's tears began to flow as she silently followed him, walking in circles around him without saying a word. Eventually, they arrived at an art gallery filled with paintings of Sumi that Jang-boo had created. Though he had lost his sight, he had memorized her face so well that he could still paint her every moment perfectly, without needing to see. The next day, Sumi followed Jang-boo as usual, but this time, he turned to her and asked, "Where do you want to go?" It was then that Sumi realized that even without his eyes, he could still sense her presence. And so, the story comes to an end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next episode.